Hey guys, and welcome to a Legion pre-patch, pre-launch video. This video will mostly just be me talking, so the video, like actual video graphics and stuff, you can just all tab out and just listen to what I've got to say. Basically, I'll be covering what to do once Legion actually launches and what the sort of best way to level and gear up for raiding is. A lot of this content is based off of a guide which was created by a Russian player called Medivh on the Soulflayer Russian realms, and it was translated by Ziriell on Ravencrest EU into English, I guess, and so I'm just putting it out on YouTube so that it's accessible to everyone else, but the real credit goes to Medivh for actually making this guide and for Ziriell for actually translating it. Yeah, so without further ado, let's jump right in. Anyway, so let's start with the calendar of events. So Legion launches on the the night of the 30th, so we'll have it on the 31st. That leaves 3 weeks, so 21 days, up until the 20th of September, for you to level alts, mains, artifact leveling, gearing up, and getting to around the 850 item level, which is what you'll need for the normal and heroic raids. So normal and heroic, Emerald Nightmare, and Mythic Plus dungeons will be released on the 21st. So that will give you about a week to do those, and then Mythic Emerald Nightmare will release a week after that. That's nothing new. Like Mythic raids usually release about a week after normal and heroic. It's been like that since I think Cataclysm. So to reiterate, you'll have 21 days, 3 weeks to hit max level and get around the 850 item level. You'll have another week to really hit those normal and heroic raids as well as Mythic Plus dungeons. And then with Mythic raids releasing a week after that on the 28th, you'll have that time, most of October at least, to progress through Emerald Nightmare before Nighthold releases. We don't really have a release date on that as far as I know, so yeah, 21 days, 7 days, and then an unknown amount of time. So, Mythic raids and dungeons. So your best value, so the way Mythic dungeons work is you do a Mythic Plus dungeon, and depending on how you clear it and how quickly you do it, you can get up to a +2 on that. So you start at, say, level 1, you might jump to 3, then 5, 7, 9, 10, whatever. The sort of ideal level to hit is level 10. You kind of want to be farming the level 10 dungeons. This is just because any level lower than that, the gear level isn't quite as good, but levels above that, the gear doesn't really improve. So you'll get 865 gear from the loot up until level 10. So, okay, so let me back up a bit. So level 1 is 840, then 2 and 3 are 845, 850, 850, 855, 855, 860, 860, and then level 10 is 865. So, and then everything after that is still 865, but the difficulty gets higher, so you might as well stick to 10. And although you get Titan Forged, like you can hit a max of like 895. That means like you get like a couple of rolls on any gear which boosts the level of the gear, but it's very random, so it's not something that you can really rely on or farm. So that's from the actual dungeon loot, and then you get an Order Hall mission box, which is slightly better loot. So for example, at level 10, that's like 880 loot. That's nearly as good, or in some cases better, depending on stats, from what you would get in the raid. So how do you go about doing this? It's similar to Diablo 3 if you've played that. So for example, you may go into a dungeon and you'll get the level 1 keystone if you complete it. And then the first completion will award you a +2 mythic keystone, so you'll be at level 2. And then each reset you'll get a keystone which will be 2 higher than that. So you might go from 2 to 5 to 8 to 10. That's probably the best, like the optimal way. So the way you would do that is if you do it within a timed window, like you do it fast enough, it'll upgrade up to a maximum of 3 per run. You want to do this because those are the levels where the loot jumps correctly from what I said earlier. So 840, 845, 850, 850, etc. So the sort of the optimal way these guys came up with is 2, 5, 8, and then 10, and you want to kind of just hover on 10. The thing is though, your keystone will get used up every time you go in there. So once you hit 10, you would do 5 runs. So you would do the level 1, the level 2, the 5, the 8, and the 10. That's 5 runs. You've done those, and you've used up your keystones to enter those. And then one of the main tunes from that would switch to an alt, and then that'll allow you to get the 4 remaining people to get loot again, because you would do all the runs again. You can do this until you run out of alts, basically. So it's kind of, I guess, similar to doing split runs in raiding, and this is probably one of the better ways to gear up. You probably don't want to switch a tank to an alt, because he'll be too squishy, and you probably don't want to switch healers as well, just because they might not have quite the output. So probably switch DPS as your first priority, and then yeah, so that's that. And then each time you reset, you'll also get an Order Hall chest mission based on the mythic mode that you accomplished on the previous reset. So that happens roughly once a week from what I understand. So there's no loot from that, but you do get a chest which contains a piece of gear for completing the whole dungeon. You get this chest even if you've made it before the time expired. So, like even if you haven't made it before the time expired. However, if you run the dungeon in a timed window and your keystone upgrades for more than 1 level, you'll get an additional chest containing an item valued as skip difficulty reward. So basically, if you go quicker, you get more stuff. That's the best way to put it. Apart from gear, you also get AP, so artifact power, and that's dungeons are probably one of the faster ways to get that. And yeah, so that should cover a bit of the dungeons. Basically, just run the shit out of them and try to hit the level 10 mark, and if the whole group is there, just switch out to an old TLDR version. Excuse me. So, what's the gearing process like? So just quickly, the secondary stats are sort of what you're after, because in Legion they're rated quite a bit higher. So for example, rings and necks don't have a main stat anymore, and instead of weapons you get relics for artifact, which not only increase the item level of your weapon, but also increase some of the perks. So some of the little level up thingies that you get as you level up, you get more of them. So for example, if a trait only goes up 1 or 3, you can push it up to like 2 or 4. Your basic pre-raid level will be around 850. That's kind of what you want to aim for. And it'll probably be around the 855 mark if you get 1 legendary, which I'll cover just very shortly. And your weapon should be around the 880 mark. So yeah, 880 to 850 to 860, somewhere around there is where you want to be setting out for raids. So as I said earlier, because secondary stats are so specific in terms of what each character needs. For example, my rogue, versatility and crit are amazing, and then anything else is kind of crap. So things with sockets become even better. So even something with a lower item level, but if it's got a socket on it, will probably be better. So with that, like a neck or a ring or something with gem sockets, by default would pretty much make them best in slot. Except for maybe the Suramar mythic items, but whatevs. So at 110, you should be around the 800 to 825 mark from items, and then so the 825 will be from Suramar, and then BOE randoms and normal dungeons will give you 810 item level. These are probably not really worth it. Same with dailies, like you'll get up to 835, 840, so between 800 and 840, but unless these are Titan Forged or have sockets, they're probably not worth it. So if you can, like if your group is good enough, you want to jump straight into mythic dungeons or class hall sets, so those you get for completing the order hall missions as well as the rep gear. So these will be around the 840 to 850 mark. These are probably the gear that you'll get to fill in all the slots that are kind of missing, because generally speaking, crafted gear will be best in slot. So for example, I know the alchemy trinket has like nearly 900 versatility, so that's what I'll be rocking for my rogue. Same with world bosses, they're around the 850 mark, so crafted and world bosses are probably your best bet. Unless it has a socket, in which case that's probably going to be just as good, if not better. And then finally, the class order hall missions. So crafted, socketed, order hall, and mythic. Crafted is best, socketed is probably second or very close, or sometimes the best. And then mythic and class order hall stuff to fill in the spots that you don't have or can't afford. So where do legendaries fit into this? So they drop from daily chests once a day. You get those. They drop from class hall mythic chests, which are once a week. PvP chests, 5-man normals and 5-man heroics. Those have no cooldown. And then you can do 5-man mythics, world bosses, LFR bosses, normal raids, heroic raids, mythic raids. And those you can do once a week. You don't get them from mobs, you don't get them from usual quests, you don't get them from dailies, you don't get them from rep, vendors, trash mobs, crafting, rare spawns, or treasure chests. The item level is at 895 and they're usually really good items. Like, you can expect an increase of around 10%. And they usually drop for your current selected loot specs. So if you're playing, say, a warrior and you're tanking, but you've got your loot specs selected as DPS, you'll get the DPS items. You won't get duplicates, like from what these guys say. You'll receive a different legendary each time. And there's like a bad luck sort of RNG basis to it, so though it's not clear how it works, everyone on beta got at least one orange item during around 1 to 2 weeks, so you're bound to get at least one, if not a couple. And so how do you farm these? So if you've got none, you're bound to get one. Like, pretty much everyone on beta got at least one. If you've got one, then you just check your currents back and, for example, do like loot the chest dailies. Most legendary drops came from those. Don't miss the world bosses, do the mythic plus resets, and if methods above fail, then spam heroics and mythics. It's probably better to do them in a pre-made because you can go quicker, but yeah, other than that, you'll get at least one, and the rest you kind of just trudge through and do the mythic dungeons and the heroic dungeons and LF group. So that's that for gear. We've covered the timeline. You have 3 weeks to do all of this. We've covered how to get gear and legendaries and what kind of gear to sort of aim for and how to get it. So what's the best way to play through this? If your guild is really hardcore, you're going to want at least a main and an alt. If it's not quite as hardcore, then just worry about your main. You want to have your quests done for your 3rd relic slot on all characters you plan to play, so probably your main before your alt. Always main is the priority. You've done all of the Suramar quests on your main. You've done all the Profession and the Obliterum Forge quests on your main, and your main's level is at least 840 to farm Mythic Plus. So once you've done all that, every week you want to make sure that you grab the bonus roll coin, you kill at least one world boss. There's 11 of them, but it's picked randomly. And you do the 10 mythics. All 10, once a week. So maybe do 2 a day. And you do the Nightfall in training. Every 3 days. And then what to do every day on your main. Start the artifact research, so that's really important. Do the daily quest chest loot chest. It's a 1-day reset, so you'll do those every day. and do all the random heroic dungeons. So you'll get artifact power from that. Obviously do these after you've done your mythics, but do at least do them every day if you've got time. You want to do the Ziriell dailies to get to Revered, and then you want to do all the other dailies. You don't really need the other ones, but the Ziriell ones are really important. If you've done all of this and you've got an alt, then the alt is probably a little bit easier. Just grab the bonus roll coin. You want to do one world boss at least, and do the night fallout training scenario each day, same as the main. So that's for your alt. It's similar to main, but for what you do every day on your alt, this is probably a little less important. You want to start the artifact research from your class hall talent work orders. If you don't have enough resources for that, you need to get them. That's really important. And then the rest is probably a little less important, but you want to do all the Ziriell dailies. You want to do the daily quest loot chest once a day, and you want to do any other dailies, including getting your professions up. So the profession dailies, especially herbalism, mining, all of that good stuff. Generally professions, because the profession gear will be best in slot before raids. Generally speaking, you want to try and get those up to get all of that gear funneled to your main. So they've changed up professions a bit as well. Generally, excuse me. So, like, in the past, when you were leveling a profession, you'd make like 50 of an item, and then if you were like me, you would probably just vendor it. If you were actually cared about gold and all of that, you'd try and sell it on the AH for a pittance, because no one was buying it, because everyone was leveling professions. Well, they got rid of that system, and now everyone can kind of be like a fake enchanter. So there's this thing called the Obliterum Forge, and basically you disenchant these things at the forge, and you get more crafting material, which you can use to upgrade a single piece of gear. So generally speaking, because they got rid of the profession perks. So before, in the past, if you were a miner, you'd get additional stamina. If you were a herbalist, you'd get like a heal / a mini haste cooldown. Tailors got special things that they could only use on their own tailoring, like special enchants. Leather workers got like wrist enchants that only they could use. Blacksmiths used to get like socket bonuses. They got rid of that in Warlords, I think. Yes, because it was still in Keta. So it really doesn't matter whether you have a a gathering profession or a crafting profession, but generally the better professions in this, because like that doesn't matter, because anyone can use anything now, and there's no there's no limit to that, like the number of items you can use and whatnot. But professions that you kind of want to aim for are jewel crafting, because it's got the best in slot neck and rings. You want to try and have an engineer because of the relics and the helmets, and generally enchanting, because at the beginning enchants are expensive, to save a bit of money. Depending on your spec and class, alchemy is really good. I know I'll be leveling an alchemist as an alt, just because it's got the best in slot trinkets. And same with inscription, although it really depends on whether the darkling cards are good for use. For some specs they're not. So to reiterate, I guess these are kind of like the non-armor / weapon crafting professions, and then the armor ones, those pieces may be best in slot, may not be. So blacksmithing, leatherworking, tailoring, it's good to have. I've got a leatherworker, but like those are probably not as good as, say, engineering or jewel crafting, or say enchanting and alchemy. And then obviously you need gathering professions to funnel into the crafting ones, so try and either have those or have a lot of money to funnel. Yeah. So to reiterate, engineering and jewel crafting are the best. Enchanting and alchemy are probably a bit below that, and inscription really depends on whether the Darkmoon card is good for you. So yes. So what's the best way to level? You want to do your, at level 100, you want to do the quest chain for your leveling spec artifact. Get this as quickly as possible as you can, because you want to do, like, jump right into actual leveling. And then you'll probably want to hit Stormheim as your first zone, just because it's supposed to be easier to level there. And then at level 102, you'll do the quest to unlock artifacts for your other specs. So do them all. They award pretty good experience, and yeah. But just be wary that you can then do the class hall quests, which is a 4-hour mission for your class hall followers, and you want to make sure that you have your followers available for that. Then you'll hit 103 and hit Azuna and do your profession quests. And then once you hit 105, you get the new class hall quests. Do all of these, and then you can probably finish off in Valshara and High Mountain. And each of these ends with a dungeon quest, which gives you about 800 at a level. So you can do these at any level, but it's important to do all 4, probably before 110, so you get the item as well as the experience. And then at 110, you want to level your raiding artifact. You want to launch your artifact research work order. You want to do all the quests, class hall quests, until you've done those. You want to do Ziriell, and you want to do the daily quests, 5 factions for friendly. Once you've done all that, you're good to level another character. And as soon as all your characters are 110, you can start AP farming gear on your main. I would probably do the AP farming like while leveling as well. So just to reiterate, you want to do the class hall missions. These are really important. And you want to do your profession missions. These are really important as well. And leveling in the zones is probably secondary to that. And you want to do the main quest chains. You don't want to do some off-side quest chains that are not at a hub. Those probably aren't as important and don't like help you as much as the main quest chains do. So Ziriell, what is Ziriell? So it's kind of like the Timeless Isle / Ashran / all of these sort of non-linear questing zone areas that have been popping up since, I want to say, Mists. Yes. Anyway, once you hit 110, that's also going to be one of your main areas to focus on. You want to try and get honored pretty much as soon as you can with the Suramar rep, at least honored, if not exalted. It's like one of the main. It's like the only rep that really only matters. But yeah, so what that does is it allows you to access to mythic dungeons. These are mythic only dungeons, rather 110 dungeons. Anyway, and these are the Archway and the Court of Stars. And both of these require attunement and rep. So mythic is 8k and 12k rep quest chain, and the Court of Stars is the same. And you should do all of these quests, no matter, like, no exceptions. The sequence isn't really important so long as you get them done before raids, because these dungeons, they give pretty decent loot, and it's just good to get them out of the way. The dailies grant pretty decent rewards as well over time spent in comparison to some of the other daily quests. So, and these will also get better as you get more rep. So Suramar is amazing. Go do Suramar. It'll be like one of your main sources of AP as well, because half the quests unlock as your reputation progresses. So the more rep you have, the more quests you get. It's a downward spiral or an upward spiral. One of those. Yeah, so go do Suramar. That's pretty much it. Like, that covers, I think, everything. Like, we did the calendar, we did raids, we did pre-gear, we did like what to do every day on mains and alts, we covered professions, leveling, Suramar, and legendary. Yes, okay, so that covers everything. Thank you for listening in. It was a bit long. And if you enjoyed that, or if you found it helpful at all, don't forget to shoot a like and subscribe below, and leave a comment if you have any comments to leave. Thanks, guys.